Hello. Hi, how are you all doing? Good, feeling all right. Okay, you have like roughly 50-ish minutes with me. Thanks for coming, first of all. This is my 10th Design and Tech Report. I have a grandbaby now. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I'm pretty psyched about that. All right, so you're here to talk about or think with me about design against AI. This is a different kind of presentation this year. I have a demo running also in it. It may crash, so live demo people, you're into that. So the way this works this year is I have it isn't automatically generated, but I realize it could be, and so I'm sort of getting to that step. The idea of AI is complex because in some cases we kind of love it, and in some cases we're like, I'm not sure. And so the whole topic of this year's report is, I don't know, right? Who knows? I have it in 7 sections, and so I'm going to go kind of fast because, TikTok generation, people can watch things in like 5 seconds. So you can catch it later. I'll put stuff on the web as well. Does that sound okay? Yeah. Okay, here we go. All right. And there are people who hate this report, by the way, and I say thank you. I love your criticism. People who find it interesting, and I do it for you all. So here we go. So I have a colleague who recently told me this thing. He said, this new kind of AI behaves unpredictably. And when he said that, I thought, that's not kind of right. Because this kind of AI is very predictable. Those of you know this matrix of like the unknown unknowns, the known unknowns, the unknown knowns. Well, those quadrants mean I don't know. But that quadrant there, known knowns, means I might know. And that's where this kind of AI does well, just like us humans, right? So we do really well there. Outside of that, we hallucinate. We make up stuff. So it's very predictable. What is not predictable is how it'll change professions. I call this an unknown known. There's this new era where you can like take something small and make it gigantic. Like, I got an idea. I want to make a gigantic website. And then on the other end, the user says, I don't want to use this website. I just want a button. So the question is, what happens when we kind of take little seeds and make them big, and we use AI to shave them down? What was the whole point in the first place? Unsure. Now, conversational design is not a new topic. It's been around for quite a while, actually since the 1960s. If you haven't read this book by Erica Hall in 2018, Conversational Design, she points out how it's the oldest interface we have. Like, you go to a restaurant, you want something, you use a voice interface, right? You want to talk to your parents, you use a voice interface. It's pretty old. And also in the technology field, it's actually not a new idea as well. This is a book from 1967 by Nicholas Negroponte. It describes how you will someday build a predictive model of conversation, and the machine will be able to adapt to that based upon that data. So it's been really a long time coming. But I think the more important thing is once this technology was beginning to be imagined, there is the person who I took AI from in the 1980s, Joseph Weizenbaum. Dr. Weizenbaum wrote this book in the 70s that cautioned the world what happens when you have a chatbot everywhere. Because in the 1960s, he invented the first chatbot. It was basically a psychotherapist that did 2 things. It would listen to you and repeat back what you said to it. Like, I had an awesome day. Oh, you had an awesome day. Tell me more. And it would look for keywords like blah, 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 my mother. Oh, tell me about your mother. And so you'd be stuck in this loop of thinking like, oh my gosh, this is so understanding. It's so therapeutic. But because as a youth, he fled Nazi Germany and questioned powerful tools. And so he spent the rest of his career as a scientist asking questions, is this technology going to be okay for the world? And so he said that he realized that no matter how intelligent you are, once you start getting a loop with this, you create this delusion that there's a thing behind the other side, a real person on the other side. So I call this sort of a kind of the delusion we have to kind of avoid if we're working in this field of AI today. So I have some polls this year, because you could be all like a Zoom or Teams call and doing stuff interactively. There's also the app to send questions. But I have 5 polls. If you can point your phone to that, you'll see a type form up here. What it is I'm really curious, what people in this room feel about AI. So I have a little poll there. And if you want to get in the clown car, sort of press the button, and I'm going to hit refresh. I'm doing this sort of not the right way, I'm sure. There's more modern ways to do it with the app. Let's see, how fast are people in this room? Oh, people are fast in this room. OK, I'm more of a collaborate with AI person. Some are compete, some are protesting with all their heart. Well, it's like watching the elections. So we're feeling a little collaborative here. And by the way, if you keep going, there's 5 simple questions in there. OK, we got a bit of a collaborative. This is like Texas. This is Austin. Here we go. OK, here we go. All right, thanks. OK, now it turns out because these have been around for a while, I've been trying to find a different way to do it, because it's all done by hand. I click on this, I take a screen cap of this, I print it out. In general, my dining table has stacks and stacks of paper that I'm sorting by hand. This year, I wrote a simple program to take all my email and take all the emails and take screen caps of everything I would have done, build a PDF, and send it to the printer. That was kind of weird. And I did that with maybe 2 hours of programming, which is also strange, because I'm not that great of a programmer. And so what I did with it is I made a computer program that has read all the past design and tech reports, and I can ask it any question. Why are design systems important? And it finds all the different slides related to it. And I've outsourced myself because I can then, I also clone my voice. And I'm running the high-performant model in the back, so it's a little slow. 20 seconds later, it's going to talk for me in my voice. And then I realized, wow, do I need to be here anymore?
The image from 2016 is a slide from a presentation discussing the impact of designing systems in the field of design.
Yeah.
It emphasizes that
AI, John, you can stop. All right. So just demonstration. That, and that took me 3 hours to write from scratch. So that's sort of strange, isn't it? And it only cost me $5. OK, so if you recall, those of you who know those reports, I think the word design means too many things. And so I kind of arranged it in 3 words. There's classical design. That's the design we love, maybe this jacket or your glasses. It's oh my gosh, design, I love it. Then there's design thinking, which organizations had to adopt to get more creative. Classical designers tend to dislike design thinkers, but I always tell them design thinkers make a 6-figure salary, so rethink that. And then there's computational design, which involves anything computational, anything app-like, product-like, whatever. And that's a new kind of design. It's a new material. OK, and so past reports, I've been talking about AI coming one day. I was looking at GitHub repos in 2018. They were increasing. Machine learning, AI was sort of trending. And also, what happens is you have to be careful because you can automate imbalance. Bad things occur when you have this and give it to too many people at the same time. But at the same time, inclusive design was rising as a topic, which I thought was really important. The question is, how do we make design more inclusive? How do we make technology more inclusive? Design can make a big impact there. And then also this thing called remote work was rising. I thought it was an interesting idea. Someday it's going to happen, right? It happened, if you didn't notice that. And then in 2019, I was getting concerned. If you haven't read the work of Kate Crawford, it's a really wonderful series of work about cautionary tales of technology and what happens when it goes the wrong way. And I had this giant pile on my table of AI stuff. And so that year, I was feeling like, I don't want to talk about AI anymore. So I stopped. And it was actually a moment where things were changing, one of those so-called inflection points. Because when you think about it, there was this ethics thing, concern, and then inclusive design was sort of being created as a kind of like a vaccine to this thing happening in the world. There was also Slack everywhere, if you don't remember at the time. I was like, oh, well, I'd add you to my Slack. No, please don't. But it was like, a new way to communicate. It was remote work was becoming capable because of that. And also, useful AI was going to happen someday, was what we were told. In the company Runway ML, this is their 2018 pitch deck. They were promising 10x cheaper, 10x faster, 10x more accessible. Of course, no one believed them in 2018, but wow, who would have thought? Also, it was also pre-COVID, and so all these companies were asking questions about how do we make your organization more digitally relevant, Everyone should do things, like be all online all the time. They should be just like digital natives on their Slacks. Why don't you change faster? People thought it was impossible to change faster, if you recall, in 2019. It wasn't going to happen. But of course, it did happen because of the pandemic, unfortunately. Now, after I stopped thinking about AI and design, I went into the security industry to focus on dangerous things because I began very interested in life or death, because that was an era that it was very scary, wasn't it? I'm not sure if some of you remember it. We've forgotten it sort of, but it's still right there, right? And I drew this graph to understand, why was it so shocking? Well, since the year 2000, there wasn't any bad thing that occurred. This was a really bad thing to occur. The million deaths or more, in the last 3 decades. But if you look at it in comparison to the last century, it happened a few times before. But this was an extraordinary amount of terrible stuff that occurred. So I want to acknowledge that we went through that. I'm not sure if you remember it, but I kind of want to forget it, but it's like, wow, it was big. So just for context, because if those of you who are here, how did the pandemic impact you? I'm to recover from it. Ooh, 31%. I feel sad about it. Yeah, 30%. Someone lost a loved one, right? It didn't make me like, oh, I'm okay. I haven't recovered from it. I lost a loved one. I feel angry about it. Well, those are feelings in this room, so thanks for sharing that. It is something that it's not hasn't left us, right? AI happened, but that was probably a bigger thing when you think about it, at least to me. Okay, so I commissioned a bunch of illustrations at the time. This is work from home, because everyone's saying, oh my gosh, work from home is so great. But have you thought about it? There's some problems on the edges you can't see on the screen. This is by Tony Ruth, by the way. Return to work. Do you want to stay on my comfy table, my comfy chair? You want to go to work? I'm not sure. Return to work. This is one work from work. I'm going to work, but I got to wear a thing, So anyways, that was a mood in that era. I also commissioned this illustration to kind of demonstrate how resilience only happens because of adversity. So it's what's called an ambigram. So if you look at it upside down, it's a different word. Adversity, resilience. Okay, context. I'm going to get a time. Okay. Other thing I enjoyed learning about being in the security industry is sharks will not kill you. Like, my gosh, a shark is going to come and get you. It's like, well, it's very unlikely. It turns out most of us in this room are going to die from something involving lungs or the heart. That's like the majority. But TV makes it different, of course. So this is kind of helpful, to me at least. And then I found this. It's my favorite list. And if you will oblige me, you may have seen me do this before. But I found it to be the most important list because it's things that people think when they're dying. And so I'm going to have a sentence appear, and I want you to read it aloud with me. Sound okay? Okay? Okay, this is a performance art moment. Here we go, together. Okay. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Right? I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. I really do. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends, right? I don't stay in touch with them. And the last one, I wish that I'd let myself be happier, right? I tear up a little bit, but it's like, that's important stuff, right? So anyways, in that journey, I found this list, and it's always helped me. I hope it'll help you all as well. Okay, so AI. Designing against AI. I like how AI is in the word against. I like finding things like that. My mom forced me to do a word search puzzles as a child. I don't know what it was, but I find words everywhere. Okay, so according to the data from last year's Design and Tech report, I love feedback, by the way. This was the most interesting thing in the whole report. It was by my friend Masakawa. It is a stop-motion samurai film made with wooden puppets and no computer graphics. So I want to show you a little bit of that. You can always watch it in the privacy of your own home, but it's quite lovely. Now it's 15 minutes long. That sawdust you saw, real sawdust, right? Oh my gosh, you gotta love it. Okay, now how do I do this here? Now I'm doing this new thing that is too advanced. So how do I exit full screen? You know, I thought I was so clever, didn't I? No, you're gonna stop me. Let's see here, 1 second. Okay, people don't like it when I do stuff like this. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Now I know. I have to exit that way. Good. Okay, learning loop. You also probably all seen the Sora thing, like what the heck? If you haven't seen that, it's gonna like, what is that, right? So that happened, of course, too, and that's all computer stuff. So I've thought a lot about how like things made by hand we still think are special. I think they're special. At some point, people might not think it's special, but those who think it's special, let's keep trying, right? Because there's a lot of stuff happening. And one thing I've noticed is that we're all talking about AI in interesting ways. So I have a collection of things that I found help me understand AI. This is my favorite. This is Ted Chiang. Do you know the movie Arrival, or the short story Arrival? Oh my gosh, this makes you cry. Large language models are a blurry JPEG of the web. It is the most beautiful, right? It's like it's an imperfect approximation. It's a compression of information. And if you haven't seen this article, it's wonderful. He makes the argument that if we humans do not write, we won't be able to write something original ever. So for all of you who love to create, to me it felt like, oh, well, I got to create. I can't let the AI do everything, or otherwise I'm not going to be able to be creative anymore. So anyways, this one, important. Another one is newspapers have the best explainers of large language models. Oh my gosh, these are expensive. I hope they get more clicks. But on the left is an FT special infographic on large language models. On the right is The Guardian. My gosh, there's like at least 30 seconds of scroll in there. But if you're having a hard time understanding the mechanics or science of it, it's all in those two graphics. Yeah. Okay. And then when you're trying to understand large language models, this model I think is my favorite. Now I want to note there, I'm giving you 8 different ways to understand large language models that I find useful. One of them may be useful to you. I apologize for the one that you don't want actually right now. But this one here. This one is called The Genius in a Room. This one's quite nice. It's a little spooky. Now this one, the idea is there's this room, there's a genius locked in there, no windows. It sounds kind of sad. And the genius cannot see outside the room. It's even worse. And the only way you can talk to the genius is you got to slip a piece of paper underneath the door. And it can only be a certain size. It's like a Post-it note size. You put it underneath with your stuff, and Psycho writes it, puts it in the back, gives it back. Only one turn. And so this is kind of an example of the token limit, so-called token limit. And we hear it getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that means like a bigger piece of paper can go underneath the door. The second thing is that if you don't give it more context, it doesn't know anything. It's going to guess. I like to think it like guesses like a tall dude. It's like it makes stuff up. Very confident. It's really good. It's going to find stuff to sort of say. The other one, it's completely stateless. It doesn't remember you at all. It has recurring amnesia. So you're like, I told you that. And it's like, oh, I don't remember ever. So this mental model I find useful. OK, this is a great talk by AIGA, by Josh Clark. Josh Clark talks about design material.
And Jess, that's what we're going to talk about here. Is that OK? You guys doing all right? You look great.
Yeah.
You look terrific.
Yeah. He's so
all right,
positive. He's so positive, right? But again, it's like wood. It has a grain. It does certain things. It doesn't do certain things. So if you learn it as a material, it's also helpful. OK. There's a John Oliver special, 30 minutes. If you haven't watched this is actually super well informed. A lot of AI stuff you can learn from John Oliver. This is basically pointers to things. Or you can have books. There's lots of books out there. There's more books coming as well. Or you can cook with me at the Koza AI Kitchen. I have something called the Koza AI Kitchen now. Think your AI skills are up to date? Think again. The latest AI breakthrough will change everything. It's exhausting, I know. But don't worry, because you're an AI professional and you love change. Our course makes adapting easier. We featured the Acorn framework for AI engineering. It's filled with real coding examples. It's been developed alongside the semantic kernel community, and this toolkit is your ally against the relentless wave of AI innovations. Come along and join us. Join me. And stay ahead. So I have a Koza AI Kitchen now on YouTube with special guests, and we're cooking AI every 2 weeks. And someone asked me, why are you doing this? Is this your job? This is like a side hobby of mine with some friends in the video studio. But if you don't actually create with it, if you don't write the code with it, it's quite opaque to everyone. So I provide different recipes, different things you can press the button and use it, and you'll quickly become an AI chef in no time. Or you can follow my 88-year-old mother. Some of you know that I moved to Seattle to take care of my parents who are in their 80s, and then I happened to find a job at a company called Microsoft nearby there. You know, my mother is she's very facile with her iPhone. She was a legal secretary when she was younger. She can type really fast, you know. So anyways, she got upset about iMessage recently, how it does that autocorrect thing. Ooh, she got really upset. She was like, John, turn this off right now. I says, Mom, you might want it. Nope, turn it off right now. When your mother tells you to do something, you got to do it, right? So like, oh man, I found the documentation. Okay, I did it. I turned it off. Recently, she changed her mind. Here she is.
You were spelling the wrong words. I thought you didn't
Well,
like
sometimes they put in words for me. They put words in my mouth. That's why I didn't like it. But then I find that putting all those words together, that's too much.
So
Too much.
you changed your mind.
Yeah, so I changed my mind. I like AI.
My mom likes AI now. That's a recent reversal. Yeah. Okay. How are we on time now? Okay, good. All right. Okay, good. And I can see the Slido somewhere. So there's questions coming in. I can see it too. No, I don't see it here. Okay, good. All right. Robots are getting smarter, stronger, faster. If you haven't noticed, there's Optimus. If you've seen Optimus like folding laundry, it's quite cute. There's the figure bot that can learn things in 30 minutes quickly and repeat. It can open your Krupp's coffee machine sort of with very little training. There's also, my favorite is the Boston Dynamic Atlas. Atlas works out. Oh my gosh, it's so strong. Yeah, wow, look at that. Look at that. You see the app I was looking at. And this is the new robot that came out online like last week. This is the H1. The H1 can jump and everything too. I know, right? It can also run at 3.3 meters per second, the fastest. I know. So interesting. So robots are happening. There's also spatial computing. There is the new, I'm sure you've seen the Apple Vision Pro. This is an area I used to work in, spatial computing. There's a great book by Jerry et al. On AR, VR, XR, if that's your new world. And again, my boss, Nicholas, in 1993, he was shading everyone when he said, VR, that's not new. It was 25 years ago. That's like in 1993. So anyways, it's been a long time coming. OK, let's check out here. Have you tried out any of the modern AR or VR headsets? Yes, but I don't own one. I don't feel the need yet. No, but I'm thinking to try one out soon. Ooh, yes, I own one, but don't use it. It's me too. Not my thing? Nope. I love one. I use it all the time. Look at that. Good for you. OK. All right. I also like to collect things made by humans that's digital as well. This is something that was made by high school students called SignWriter. Who knows SignWriter? SignWriter? OK, you have to know this, and it's good. I wrote to them, and they were like, nobody uses this. Please use it. OK, here it goes. This is amazing. It is a math nerd game. Check it out, signwriter.com. So pleasant, too. See that? You type in the equation. It draws the curve. The vehicle moves up and down on the curve. Isn't this clever? See that? Y equals minus x. No, y equals x squared. Oh, no good. Right? OK, yeah, this is definitely a taste thing. Yeah, I'm into that. SignWriter by Hack Club. Again, high school students making code. This is Poetry Camera. This is very
Poetry
Brooklyn.
Camera, a camera that makes poems.
Washington Square Park demoing Poetry Camera. These people have agreed to have a poem taken of them. So I'll just step back. All right, 3, 2, 1, cheese. It took a picture. It's analyzing the picture, looking for salient details. Then it's thinking really hard about the deep inner meaning of life and everything it saw in your faces. OK. On wooden boards, a painted line of souls, parallel parked in a patch of quiet green, hush-dipped laughter sifting through leaf canopies as crumbs crumble from paper-wrapped parcels. Bare legs brush against cool arms of metal as sun filters through the dappled...
That's very Brooklyn, isn't it? It's nice. Again, using GPT-4V to do analysis, but like handheld computing. It's very cool. And then, hour before I came here, this was launched called the Puppets app. This is amazing. This is, you can like put your hand on screen and do hand puppets. Isn't it amazing? Puppets.app. I was like, what is this sorcery? Yeah. So anyways, I like to think that human beings, AI's got a lot of stuff, but we humans, we have our moves, So we got to like keep that like a rich place of appreciation and fun. Okay. All right. So we've gone through a few ideas, how to think about AI. I showed you some human stuff. Now we're entering the section of the ABCs of AI. Here we go. Okay, so the thing about large language models to note is that they didn't happen overnight, like VR, taking 50 years. Large language models actually have been growing over the last 10 years. If you're in the world of language, you knew this. I didn't know this, but it's been happening for a long time. So this is a paper that came out last year, a comprehensive survey on pre-trained foundation models. Notice the span of time, 10-ish years. The pink ones are the language models. So on the left-hand side, the large language models weren't that large. They were kind of like, a little bit large. But as you can imagine, over time, they got a lot larger. The blue models are the vision models, which also were growing astronomically, exponentially. The green graph models. And the ones in the very far right are the most interesting. They're called the unified pre-trained models. Kind of like Lord of the Rings, one model to rule them all. They go across all the modes. Now, when you think about it, I keep watching like YouTube to just sort of stay up on this. And just like this morning, I woke up, I wanted to show you the phenomenon. I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but like every YouTube video looks like this. Do you know what I'm talking about, the cover? They look shocked. And you're like, oh, I got to look at this for some reason. Or they look sort of tired because AI is coming. Or this one, where they like have their hands on their face. Like, what is this? So I keep wanting to click it, but I stop myself when I see these things. So be careful, because it's like very sensational. I have like a sort of a low-key version of how to talk about AI. The ABCs. So first off, A is you got large models and you got small models. That's pretty easy, right? You got the big ones and you got the little ones. The big ones you can't run because they're too big. They're not going to fit in your computer. The small ones, they're small. They can run on your laptop. This is a big difference, right? One you can run in the cloud, you can't. One you can run on your machine. OK, then B. Question is like, is it open or is it closed? If it's open, you can mess with it. If it's closed, you can't. OK, so large, small, open, close. OK. Then there's model domains. Is it a monomodal model? Does it just work on text? Does it just work on images? Or is it multimodal? It goes across modes. And most models we're seeing today are going to go across modes. It makes it much more powerful. Now, I have to cheat. There is an ABC. There's like A to Z, actually. It gets worse. You know? So you got the large versus small. You got the open versus closed. You got the multimodal versus multimodal. Hard to say. You've also got embeddings models versus completion models. You got full model fine-tuning versus lower fine-tuning. You got function calling models. These are the very interesting ones. And you got agents now. And this could keep going on. So I just want to note that all the terminology is growing like wildfire. So just keeping up is hard. But those ABCs are a good place to start. Agents are the most interesting, at least for applications. I did a survey on agents, but if you know Kwame Nyaning, he's a former McKinsey consultant, also a startup person. I think he coined Agentic UX. Agentic UX being this different kind of UX, where the UX, as we know it, goes away, and you work through a surrogate. Now, when you think about agents, do you have experience making agents? No, but I prompted. See that? You're on the way. No, I haven't touched this AI stuff yet. Yes, I made a GPT 20%. So that's like so a quarter of the people who've been surveyed in this room, who've done this survey, know what an agent is. It's going to be more of a common thing this year, so just keep it on your spider sense radar. OK, now, shiny things. Who likes shiny things? Like a squirrel? Thank you. OK, thank you. So a list of shiny things here. OK, so I think that there's two kinds of shiny things to keep in mind in AI. There's either handcrafted things or things crafted for speed. The things crafted for speed are interesting because this AI used to take too long, but now it's getting a lot faster. On the handcraft side, it's this question of what we humans can create that the machine cannot. OK, so handcraft selection. Who owns a Rivian? Anyone owns a Rivian here? Rivian owners here? No, Rivian, not popular. Rivian has a chirping sound.
And increase the pitch. The result is a clear and happy confirmation. Your Rivian is locked, and the natural world is a little less noisy.
See, the truck chirps. Why? We don't know. But a perfect example of a kind of a human sensibility. Another one is this one I found, which is a Dieter Rams-style framer repository. Have you seen this? It's so lovely. It makes sounds. I know why. So we humans, we do these kinds of things. They're hard for the machine to make because they haven't been done yet. And so I am hopeful that we'll keep doing that. OK, more handcraft. This is called words-as-image.github.io. It uses the model to create type that takes the shape attributes and applies it to the serifs of the letter. I know, right? Who would do that? Another one. Okay. So I wanted to, the future of education is super important right now. And these are people that I look to if you know their work. I'll put this list online. But if you're looking for like new student work out there, there's a lot of interesting work rising in this human domain. OK, speedcraft. So remember I pressed the button and it generated the audio and took roughly 25 seconds? This is Play HT.
Hi, how are you?
Did you see that just now?
You. Hi there. I'm calling in regards to...
So anyone who's doing this right now, you had that weird moment, like, wait, there was no wait time. So latency is being taken out of this computation rapidly. So whereas we thought they were slow, they're so much faster. And now people are building things that are predictive. So their actual latency is in minus milliseconds. So it's guessing what you'll create before you create it. So right now we're experiencing latency, but that's going to be decimated very quickly. Metaphor. OK. Now, I want to note that everything keeps getting faster every day. Who's tracking this stuff with me? Who gets tired every day? The newest thing? Yeah, it's like tiring. Okay, yeah, but you got to keep on going. OK. This one I want to, section 5 is about the profound change we'll experience as people who make things. Let's see here. I am a mostly product designer, marketing designer, product manager. Using cutting-edge AI tools will enhance my skills. Thank you. It will influence my career. So generally speaking, it's important to note that this stuff doesn't seem to be going away, and it keeps accelerating. And so I guess some good news. Those of you who have adopted design systems, who's adopted design systems in their company? Congratulations. That is important computational skill. The second one, AI prompting, I think over half this audience has done that. So those are two new computational skills that we've already kind of introduced, we're all using. The reality, though, is that this is expansive. I use a model of the marketing loop and the product loop. It's two loops of attraction versus retention. And if you think about it, on the left-hand side is you pull the possible buyer in, and on the right side, you keep them retained on the product. And the interesting thing is that this technology is affecting both loops at the same time. So more good news, question mark? Most marketing work is being impacted by this. And most product work is being impacted by this as well. So again, impacting both sides of the loop where design is involved. And if you haven't seen Vercel Gen 0, V0, which was re-released a couple of days ago, it indicates an era where UI goes away, so-called zero UI. And why is that possible? It's possible because of something called function calling. I want to pause for a second because function calling, if you haven't seen it or you haven't heard of it, it's because it's somewhat obscure. We're captivated by chatting with things right now. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to chat to it. It's going to chat back to me. I'm going to chat back. I'm going to make an image. I'm going to chat back to it. Function calling models are a little different in that function calling models, the way to think of it is there's a chest of tools sitting over here. And what the AI model can do is it can select the tool and use the tool. Not only that, it can select the first tool and then the second tool to do pipelined work. So function calling models mean that the effort we took to make a user journey or help someone hold their hand and get the inputs from them through screens, the user can now teleport to the actual thing they want to get done with no need for the journey. So that's beginning to happen right now. And so these two sides of the loop, what is marketing, what is product, is gradually going to change because of function calling. It changes the relationship to a consumer. It changes the relationship to what a journey is to someone using that journey. OK, I had this wonderful moment back when I ran a college called Rhode Island School of Design. And I used to walk around campus a lot and talk to students, my customers, right? So talk to them, how you doing? I was always learn something new from them. There was one student who came up to me and said, hey, John, I saw you talk to those people over there. You shouldn't talk to them. I said, why? They're talkers. You shouldn't talk to them. I was like, why is that? Well, because we're makers. We make things. They're talkers. They don't make anything. And I was like, aren't you a talker? Because you're talking to me? So makers and talkers. So makers and talkers, developers are makers. And those makers' lives are getting disrupted by things like a GitHub Copilot, GPT Engineer. It's changing how you develop software, the makers. Same for designer makers. Designer makers their lives are being changed as well by this new kind of way to build things. What's interesting, however, is people who are talkers, the people who manage, their lives are getting a lot better. So it's something to sort of note, just saying. OK, this is on my studio wall for the last 10 years by Eric Shinseki. If you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. And I find this very useful because it can be kind of like, whoa, this is getting tiring. How am I going to keep going? But this keeps me going. Helps you too. OK, function calling. I love it so much. Function calling is really nicely illustrated in Vercel v0. What you see here is the model is you're chatting with it, but you're not just chatting with it. It's reaching out and using a plugin. Or it's generating the user interface that you need to get something done. This is a different way of creating software. You define the goal, the entire journey gets designed, and the different components get called to get the job done. It is still very new, but we're going to see more of that, definitely, this year and beyond. And it'll probably change how we design in general. OK. Oh, OK, all right, let's see here. I don't see the questions. But anyways, how are we doing, OK? All right, we still here? OK, we got 16 minutes. OK, I'm sorry giving you too much stuff, I know. But anyways, this is why you probably come here. I overcreate for the table. All right, critical thinking. So critical thinking is awesome because we humans are really good at it. It's also a skill of the talker, mind you. The thinker-talker who isn't making can actually think critically. And it may be the one skill that we have to be the best at now, especially given the time. This is a model of critical thinking. You have standards, you have elements of thought, and you sort of put them all together, and what you get the kind of a person that you are as an intellectual. Those of you who are in AI call this chain of thought reasoning, or tree of thought, or more exotic words. This is basically thinking hard. And when you think hard, it's critical. The problem with critical thinking, however, is it takes time. How many of you like to buy weird things made by human beings? This is Austin. I'm sure you do that. Yes, South by Southwest, right? You go, oh my gosh, I got to have that. There's a shirt I passed by for the last 6 years, and also I got to have that shirt, so I bought it yesterday. Because it's clearly handmade. It's like, that's pretty hard to make. So it takes time, and so therefore it's a little more expensive. The problem is time is money. So critical thinking is not a common thing. I've lived in the not-for-profit sector and the for-profit sector, and I realized a really simple thing that maybe you all have known for a longer time than me. But there's kind of like a division of labor. In corporations, it's a lot of energy to critical think. So they're not really good at critical thinking. They're good at scaling. Scaling, build, scale, woo, kind of thing, right? Critical thinking, that takes time. On the other hand, not-for-profits are really good at critical thinking. And that's where a lot of the important stuff is being generated now to think critically. So it's almost as if you keep looking across both worlds, in the average, you might find something better, I think, is my belief. I have a collection of a bunch of these papers that I found that I'll put online after this, what I think are the best resources to think of a balanced view of how this stuff all works. This is on the opportunities and risk of foundation models, danger of stochastic parrots. This is a very new paper, 10 hard problems in AI we must get right. This is a wonderful paper to read if you haven't read it yet. GPTs are GPTs. The graph is you can't read the graph, you have to zoom it up, but it's fascinating. And my favorite by Eric at Stanford, the Turing Trap, because of this diagram. Because I like simpler things. There's like so much stuff out there, it's like information obesity. So this is my favorite diagram I found. It's by Eric at Stanford. This is tasks that only humans can do, the set of. And then this is human tasks that AI could automate. The question in your life is that black rectangle larger or smaller? Is your orange rectangle getting bigger or smaller? Is the question. And then there's this whole sea of things, new tasks that humans can do with the help of AI, only with the help of AI. So I find this a very productive framing. Like, how are you building your bench of skills? What are your new, you have this new blue ocean type of skill out there. I have found while building this report and showing you all the stuff I built to sort of make that sort of search thing, whatever, I was like, wow, I can do stuff I couldn't do before. Who knows the work of Sherry Turkle? Sherry Turkle? If you don't know it, please check her work out. I think she's one of MIT's greatest minds. Sherry's been thinking about identity, devices, society for the longest time. But she wrote once that technology challenges us to assert our human values, which means that, first of all, we need to figure out what they are. And so really everything Sherry's writing, I think, is very relevant today as we try to find our way forward in this unusual time of AI. So concluding thoughts. So I realize, those of you who design, that you are the great humanizer of technology. I've been cooking recently. There's like meat tenderizer. The meat's like hard, gets a little softer. So it's like, I think design humanizes technology. That goes all the way back to the Bauhaus or even the 1800s, where factories were making products that were dangerous to your hand, hard to hold. And so the Bauhaus school was a result of asking questions of, well, if you hold it this way, you're going to burn your hand. Let's actually make it this way. Oh, but that's going to take more manufacturing effort. No, the consumer will benefit from that. So design has always been something that humanizes technology. And at the same time, we're told don't humanize AI. It's kind of weird, right? What do you do? So maybe we should stop designing because we're humanizing it, right? But I believe that the new value to find is in this criticality thing. We got to make it just taste better somehow. I put a tongue there. It's like measurable valuable is like whatever. Palpable value. Oh, I want that kind of thing. Critical value. We have to find that. Privacy as a value is becoming like that. That's delicious. Oh, that's so private. That's delicious. So it is occurring. But lastly, avoid the delusion when you're working with these models to think there's a thing behind it, because that goes back to the 60s. It's a new kind of technology. It's built out of math. It can do good things. It can do bad things. It's up for us humans who want to do good things with it to do better things for the world. OK, there's a bunch of stuff to read out there in the critical space. These are some of my favorites. I just met someone in the line to get tacos somewhere who probably is here. This is my favorite thing. It's Design Patterns Catalog, dangerous hitting a URL. There we go. This is by Sarah Gold. Sarah Gold in the UK is probably the great mind of our time about services earning trust. This is an entire dictionary of ways to approach consent, privacy. It's such a beautiful thing. Okay, all right, go. Wow, we got made here. How to Speak Machine, my highly unsuccessful book of 2019, which took me 6 years to write, but I wrote it to help understand computational design. The first is it never gets tired. The second thing is it can span infinite space. The third thing is it can act alive. So these three properties, we have had no design material like it before ever. One that never gets tired, one that can span infinite space and infinitesimal detail at the same time. And lastly, it has properties that can make it seem alive. You saw the robots. You see it thinking. Weird. It changes how you make products because you can make them incomplete for the first time. You can also make products that are instrumented, so you can change, you can watch what's happening over time. And lastly, if you don't watch out, it can lead to imbalance because you can automate imbalance if you don't watch out. Okay, takeaways. Computational thinking. It's invaluable, not about coding, but understanding how computation works will help to keep you up to date because the physics have not changed. The second thing is your work is going to change. AI is going to change how we work, and it's going to be not like this. It's going to happen over time. People say, no, John, it's going to happen right now. Who's ever tried to get something through procurement before? Raise your hand. Thank you. You know what I mean. It's going to take a little time. Everyone, okay, sir. And lastly, be critical of AI for customer use cases. This is something that businesses, when they find value in that, will see the tide change. And so I see design as sort of standing at that forefront of trying to articulate that value, create that value. And I'm looking forward to it. And if you look at the work of Sarah Gold, you'll be able to see that starting to form in design. This will be up on Design and Tech Report soon in a more coherent fashion. And visit the Cozy AI Kitchen if you can. And this pocket of universe is now closed. Thanks for your attention, and hope you enjoy the heat. Thank you.